Alright, good morning from, let's call this Uncle Bob's place. One of the first videos that we've kind of done creating this channel. I want you guys to stick with us. There is a little conversation I want to have. And then we've got John Sears bringing in a very mighty small block. So the dyno should be very interesting. High revving, high horsepower. Small blocks, so stick with us for that. But I do want to have a conversation with something that came that happened the other day that I found very interesting. So I had a water leak when we was finishing up bills on the dyno, external water leak out the back seal. The dyno had never been apart ever since I had it. And so, of course, we took it apart, ordered a bearing and seal kit, which would be standard. And everything inside, the rotors and all that stuff, looked just fabulous. No damage, internal, external. So it took us a little while to get the seals and get everything and get it put together. But I left bills on the dyno because I wanted to repeat or show that it repeated from the last pull of bills, and Bill didn't have a need for it. We're going to do more testing with it anyways. So it just sat there. And so I put it all together, the dyno, and fired it up, warmed the engine up to the operating temperature that we normally do, and made a pull on it. And this thing made 10 horse less than it did before. And I found that very strange because this dyno, whether it was 1 day or 5 days, 10 days, the acquisition part of this, the weather station, all that stuff, had always went within 1 horse, 1 foot-pound of torque. And I was like, well, why? And so I started looking at the graph, which I could show you, and I noticed that it was a 0.5% or 0.5 richer on the AFRs all the way through the pull. And I was like, well, why is it richer? I didn't really make sense to me. I was trying to understand what had changed from, whatever it was 7 days before. And so I pulled a plug, and the plug was pretty much fuel fouled. And so I was like, and so then I remembered that when Bill was here that he had put in 10s. And I know that we had used the same spark plugs throughout the pull of the 406, my 427, and Bill's, which were 7s. And I was like, I wonder, these plugs are shot anyway, so I got to put another set in. Why don't I want to go back to the 7s? And I knew that we had put those in. I didn't remember whether it was right before the last pull or even after that pull. And I reached out to Eric to find that out, and Eric was like, we made 1 pull on those plugs. And I was like, okay. And then Eric reminded me that before that 1 pull that we had put this octane booster in it. And Bill, I knew that he had used that some in the past. I believe in the old in the race car, the 55, when they were in Florida. But anyways, skipping on, I was like, well, okay. And so when I was talking to Eric, he was like, I bet it's the octane booster. And I was like, well, it fouled these plugs. So anyways, I put the 7s back in it and made another pull, and I picked up half of that. And I was like, well, that's neat. I'm gaining on it. And he was like, just by cleaning up the plugs. And so then Eric was like, it's all in the octane booster. And I was like, okay, that's fine. We're within 3 or 4 now. I'm a little more satisfied with that. So my water brake has discharge outlets on it, and I was wanting to get them kind of tuned in on water temperature on the dyno as far as the outlet pressure, outlet temperature and stuff. And so I made a total of 5 pulls. On number 4, one previous to the last pull, I had ran out of fuel in the fuel jug out there, and so I dumped fresh fuel in it, and which was 92 octane only, and pump gas. And so I made the final pull only related to what I was trying to do with my dyno tuning on the temperatures coming out of it, water temperatures. And instantly, it went right back to what it was before of 670, and the torque was within 1. And so I was like, wow, imagine that. You know, I'm glad it came right back. As I run that octane booster out of it, it made it better. And so I found that very interesting. I truly believe that when Bill dumped this in, that, you know, I think there's a percentage of you put it in with 20 gallons of gas or whatever it is. I'm sure it was way over that in quantity per that 5-gallon jug out there. So it was heavily mixed. So I'm not discounting this stuff at all. What I'm trying to say is I would say if you don't mix this stuff right, you can really start causing spark plug failure problems. And if you guys remember back when Bill and Billy was in sick week in Florida and they had the 55 down there and they would race that thing, they had pure richness coming out of the exhaust. And so I go back to telling you, I think make sure that you, if you're using this, use it in the right quality versus how much is in the thing. I think you'd be foolish to be too heavy, because then you're going to foul plugs, then you're going to make the engine run bad, and it jumps and jumps. So I just found it very interesting. Something I thought I would share. You know, I'm not a technical guy to a degree. I find out stuff by testing or by running into it or doing it. And we'll try to take this channel and share those small things. Because somebody else may be out there going, yeah, I ran into that, and or I didn't have this problem or whatever. And also something else on this 92 gas thing that I would like to understand a little more is you know, what plugs a person should run in it. I know Bill, he puts 10s in everything that I ever done for him. And I understand that in the nitrous world, but as we're getting into this pump gas world, I would be curious to know if that is somewhat a same true statement or not. If you're fuel fouling them, you know, I don't care what plug it is in it, you know, it ain't gonna work. But I know, you know, we're leaning on the detonation problem. You don't want to go too far on this, of course, it's all bad, but you know, where it is happy. I think it's going to be interesting to see as we run my 427 back through here. In Bill's 434, we may make a spark plug change from one to another to see if it makes any difference, even how it looks on the plug as we make pulls. Thank you for tuning into this, but as now we are going to make some healthy runs on I believe it's a 350. Oh no, John will be here shortly and he can tell us all about it.